Hi everyone, this is Marie Blue Angel, and I am doing the demo for Rekindle today. Just a heads up, this is about second chances. So if you're not the biggest fan of second chance romance, as I know some people might be, then maybe you would like to approach this with some precautions. I will say that I feel like I don't really run into second chance romance in this indie visual novel space as much. But maybe it's because I haven't been specifically looking for it. Rekindle has been on my backlog for a while, and I want to get to it. It is also a game that is in hiatus, so perhaps as we wait for it not to be on hiatus anymore, that we can enjoy the demo and see what it has to offer. Yeah, let's just get into it. I have no idea what's going to happen, so I am excited about this. Okay, but tell me how you feel about second chance tropes and the second chance trope and romances. It can be a hit or miss depending on how it's done. I will say my favorite Jane Austen is book is Persuasion, which is all about second chances. So I'm hoping I really like how this is executed and overall done, which I'm sure I will. But yeah, we'll see. Let's just get into it. I also think that this is voiced somewhat, so the love interests will be voiced to some degree, so that'll be very fun to check out. And so far, I like the art style, and the title page is very fun. Anyways, let's just get into it. Let me just make sure that I know how many minutes I'm on. Actually, I don't see my minute marker? It says it's recording. Okay, hopefully that means we're going. Because I will be sad if I'm not going and I'm playing this game. But anyways, let's just go. Start. A big disclaimer. Please read. For your own reference. My name, Minth, Manth. I'm gonna be Marie today, I guess. Since we started with an M name. Pronouns. Okay. Okay, let's see. Another year, another day alone. Ooh, we're not in the best mood right now. Walking down a busy street, you watched as people passed you by with smiles on their faces. You could feel contentment radiating off strangers all around you as you made your way home. I will say I am slightly distracted by the food display on the left side. It looks like donuts and muffins, and I love donuts and muffins. I just love it. Probably have someone waiting for them wherever they're going. Must be nice. You've been on your own for just over a year now. Walking home by yourself was just part of the routine you've been accustomed to. You woke up alone, got dressed alone, ate alone, and went to bed alone. Uh, I mean, I'm of the mind that, it can suck, of course, but it's also something that you're able to do. And, kind of being able to enjoy your own company is definitely something that one should do. But, like, it can pivot between kind of both of these sentiments. I will say, I probably will just say you'd gotten used to it. That's a bit more ambivalent. But you gotten used to it. If nothing else, there was comfort in the monotony. You could rely on the routine of it, the familiarity that came each day. Today, however, it felt more like a burden than consolation. You had been trying to come to terms with your current circumstances, trying to find happiness and acceptance within yourself. You heard it before. You have to love yourself before you can love someone else. Easier said than done. You were trying, though. Some days went more smoothly than others. Today was not one of those days. This day in particular made being alone harder. It was another birthday. Another reminder that you had no one to celebrate with. Most people would be ecstatic about a day meant to celebrate themselves, a day with friends and family to fuss over them, spend time with them, and share laughter, joy, and memories. And of course, cake. You may not have had any of the other things, but cake you could do. But where do we live then? Don't we have a community? Maybe we just move somewhere new, which is hard, and it definitely happens. And not to say you have to celebrate your birthday with other people, but do find it's very enjoyable. It is a preference, I think. Some people do like spending their birthdays alone, or not celebrating at all. I personally am someone who likes to celebrate with other people, so it kind of just depends. So there's that. But yeah, the vibes here for our main character are very low, not fun. But we do have to feel the feelings. I am aware that you can't just cover them up and just pretend like everything's fine. So let's continue, and hopefully the day does get better. As if the city had read your mind, your meandering path home led you in exactly the right direction. You stopped in your tracks on the sidewalk when you saw yourself face to face with the brightly lit window of a bakery. A variety of lovely treats were artfully displayed: cookies, cupcakes, pastries, and muffins. Yum! But what caught your attention in particular was a strawberry cake placed in the center of the display. We better buy a strawberry cake for ourselves. Real strawberries were placed on top, with a heaping amount of cream covering the dessert. Ugh, that sounds really good. That was it. That was the one. You made your way inside, taking a moment to politely look over everything. The shop was well stocked with plenty of delectable treats, but with the cake in the window calling you, you went to speak to the person at the counter. The shopkeeper aimed another one of those bright smiles that everyone seemed to have today at you. What can I do for you? You don't have to, but I would smile. Summoning the last dregs of your social niceties, you flash a smile at them as well. I'd like the strawberry cake in the window, please. Sure thing. You waited patiently. I was so worried that the cake was going to be taken. Just given the vibe around here. Wouldn't that be awful? That would be absolutely awful. I would be so sad. I'm not trying to put that energy out there, but, it could happen. You waited patiently as they moved around the bakery, grabbing the cake you wanted and packaging it up so it would be safe on the journey home. You glanced around, briefly wondering if you needed to grab anything else for the occasion, before remembering that the occasion was really just you eating a cake alone in your apartment. Oh my gosh, look at those other cakes on the side. On the left side, do we see this? There's a carrot cake, a chocolate cherry cake. Is this like a cookies and cream? This looks like a blueberry. More blueberry, but vanilla. Okay. Ugh, these all look so good. I want to be at this bakery. No need for any added frills, I will say. I don't know. Even if I do have to spend my birthday alone, or have I really spent my birthday alone? I will say sometimes my birthday can fall on a weekday, and that has meant, well, I've been fortunate that doesn't really mean I have to work on that particular day. But if it's during the week, then I tend to just go out and do something. Like, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but I like going to bakeries or cafes and treating myself to restaurants and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there can be frills if you want. You don't have to, but, it's a preference. After you paid for the cake, they gave you one last grin as they handed you the bag that held your purchase. Here you go. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you. I'm certain I will. You left the shop, ready to get home and bask in your melancholy. You let your feet find their way home as you allowed your mind to wander again, thinking about what to organize for dinner for yourself. However, as the distance to your home grew smaller, a small nagging sensation began to develop, as if trying to alert you to something. What it was, uh, what it was, you couldn't figure out, and soon it wouldn't matter. As you turned a corner, you were met with the sight of a billboard taking up a large portion of the brick wall of the building you walked past each day. The billboard wasn't new to you. It was something you had learned to ignore as you hurried past it every day to and from work. It was part of your daily routine to try not to see the face with its sultry smile, just as beautiful as you remembered. Ooh, who's this? So why? Why were you unable to resist stopping and truly looking at that stupid image, today of all days? You supposed it was because it was today. Maybe you just felt more susceptible in general, receptive to its siren song, calling out for you to hear it. So for once, you actually stopped, rather than hurrying past as you always did. Face the truth. For better or for worse, this was your life, or it had been once upon a time. It was better to face that fact, even if it still hurt. Nikolai. Okay, here's our billboard. Cute. Love it. Feel it. You're Nico. Okay. He was stunning. An ex. Then again, he always had been, even on the first day you met him. And staring into those all too familiar, verdant eyes, you remembered everything like it was yesterday. Not like you could ever forget. Your first friend, your first crush, your first boyfriend, your first everything, including your first heartbreak. I don't know why I'm shocked. And while the warm, familiar memories never seemed to fade with time, neither could you forget the things that had gone wrong. From the day Nikolai's family moved into the house next door, he instantly became your best friend. Oh. For years, the two of you were nearly inseparable. The days you spent together vastly outnumbered the days you spent apart. It reached the point that even your names had become intertwined into a singular word by your families and close friends. Marie and Nico. During all that time, he was your playmate and constant companion. The two of you would act out adventures that one or the other had discovered in some show or game, or from books that you had loved. If you were honest with yourself, it was like Nico was your childhood. As your best friend, he was always there for you, your comfort, your confidant, just as you were for him. It had been this way all through elementary school and continued into middle school. Though Nico had begun to struggle with classes as they grew more difficult, and with this, the heavy expectations of achievement that his parents placed on him. Around this time, people started noticing how pretty he was. You'd found it silly because it was obvious he was beautiful. Not merely on the outside, although the outside seemed to be all anyone really cared about. In retrospect, it was inevitable that you had fallen for the person who had grown up with you and knew you better than you knew yourself. Soon, other students weren't the only ones noticing Nico's looks. So did a modeling agency. Oh. In modeling, Nico finally found a way to express himself and a way to succeed on his own terms. You tutored him all through 8th grade to help him get his grades up, a condition for his parents to consent to doing work with the agency. The summer before the start of high school, you watched as the sweet, sensitive boy you knew transformed, not just in his haircut and clothes, but also in the way he held himself and moved his athletic body with grace. Let's look at... Okay, Nico, not in the billboard Nico. You remember that first day of high school when Nico walked into those halls by your side, heads turned, all ages and genders. Everyone noticed him. His newfound admiration opened a door for him with a cool crowd, a door that was decidedly closed for you. For the first time in your life, you felt a distance growing between you and your best friend. A distance that made you anxious and sad. The sting of this was only worsened by the fact that it had been many years since you admitted to yourself that what you had felt for Nico was much more than even the closest of friends and confidants. So did we ever say anything to Nico? It feels like we never said anything. How old are we now? I need to know. You loved him. As I get back. But before starting high school, you thought that maybe he could feel the same way. Nico doted on you, and sometimes you caught him looking at you. But whether with the tenderness of long friendship or dare you hope something more, you couldn't tell. You had almost been on the verge of confessing your feelings to him.
Mm-hmm.
But when freshman year began, everyone seemed to have hearts in their eyes as they gazed at him. People were always clustered around him, flocking to him. Even if he had felt the same as you at one point, there was no way it could withstand the appeal of all those options. Oh, we didn't believe in ourselves. Oh, my God. Until, one day, what? Wait, I don't know why I was acting like this didn't happen when our character literally said, like, yeah, Nico was our first everything. Hella crazy. Okay, anyways. Let me take a pause. Oh my God. This is wild. Okay, hopefully this is all good. Anyways, Nico confessed his feelings and actually asked you out. Your first romantic relationship for the both of you.
Will you go to the dance with me?
Oh. You were over the moon. It was like every dream you had dreamt had come true. If people had thought you were inseparable before, it was even more so now. You had everything. And then, little by little, he began to change. Nikolai, as he then chose to be called, started to get caught up in how others perceived him. It was as if there truly was nothing more to him than his pretty external facade, when you knew there were so many more wonderful things about him than his looks. Despite this, you had to admit that you felt jealous. People vied for his attention and your own confidence wavered. That's when the cracks started to form. Fissures in the bedrock of your once close relationship. And yet, year in and year out, you continued to date.
Hey.
When you were alone, he was the same sweet Nico with his with his patented, gentle sense of humor that you had always known and loved. The moments you spent together were the happiest of your young life. But as he found more success with his modeling and grew more involved with his superficial friend group, you began to feel a distance growing between you. I mean, I guess that's really hard, especially given how young the career change, like the career development happened, and specifically being in entertainment. And not saying that you can go through this and not do that, but it also seems very like in also just like the general personal development, like high school through more, like especially high school, but like probably like really young adult years, like early 20s, like that's definitely a period of lots of change. It can be a period of lots of changes, which is good normally, but I guess it really just depends on what you want as a person. So at times it made you question everything, even those moments of closeness you treasured with him. This feeling was only reinforced when you heard him laughing with his friends. They asked him why he was still with you when he could do so much better. Damn it, you didn't shut them down, Nico? You waited unseen for the answer to the questions of insecurity that had been building within you for some time. No answer came. No. You slipped away before anyone caught you spying, before they could see the wound you now carried. From that time, you could feel yourself start to shut down ever slowly. I mean, understandably, I do think what would have probably been good was to communicate all these things, but that's easier said than done sometimes. Nico. Graduation came and went, and this is what Nico looks like now with the red hair, okay? You chose to follow him to college, even though it wasn't the logical choice for you. Never. No. You had a good reputation for fashion studies, which would be important for Nico. Oh, I love that we're doing fashion studies.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the difficulties in your romantic relationship, you still considered him your best friend. You wanted to be by his side to support him. Or, more pathetically put, you couldn't just bear to leave him.
Huh?
Then, just before you both left for the first year of college, the offer came in. Nico had been recruited by a prominent name in fashion to become a model. In Europe. Oh. After the initial elation, you felt reality set in. It was an incredible offer, something that only really comes once in your lifetime. And Nico was given that opportunity. He had to take it. This was his big moment, and regardless of what this meant for you, he had to take it.
Hey.
And yet, when Nico saw your devastated expression, he vowed to turn it down. But you couldn't let him miss this opportunity to pursue his dream, to prove what he was capable of, not only to his parents, but to himself and the whole world. You shook your head, putting your own emotions aside for him, telling him as such. It hurt when he agreed, even though you knew it was the right choice, the choice he had to make. But where did that leave you? He said it wasn't forever. He could come home as often as he could. In between visits, you could video chat every day. You both would find a way to make it work.
We can do this. It's not forever. We'll video chat every day, and I'll come home to visit. We'll make it work. Please. I don't want to lose you.
Okay. Then you thought about how much of a struggle you'd had only the past year or two when you were together every day. You asked him how you were supposed to make it work when you could barely hold the relationship together the way it was. It was obvious that he hadn't liked that answer, but he knew you inside and out, just as you had known him. He knew when you couldn't be persuaded. Oh, the two of you agreed to a compromise, a temporary breakup, just until he came back home the next summer when you could pick things up again. It was hardly a breakup, really. That last night you both cuddled together on your bed, simply staring tearfully into each other's eyes with the knowledge that the last 14 years together were coming to a close. And in the morning, he was gone. Winter, then spring, and finally summer came, but Nico didn't. He was more successful than even you expected he would be, and he couldn't get away. After that, you didn't call. You never had the self-confidence to reach out. Why would he want you? We're so self-deprecating. Oh my god, this hurts my soul. Not when he was surrounded by perfect bodies and perfect faces all day, every day. I mean, I'm not saying that I wouldn't have similar thoughts, given this is the modeling world, but like, I don't know. There's something to be said about at least putting it all out there in the sense of communicating what you feel. And then, obviously work and communicate with this other person and see where it goes. By the end of the day, I feel like if I didn't do that, I would regret it. I would regret it for the rest of my life. But yeah, I'm trying to understand our character, but we're also really young. We're like 18 or 19 at this point, I think. No. And you were just you. No. You're amazing. Standing on the sidewalk, birthday cake in hand, you couldn't help but stare into his lovely, familiar face as it loomed larger than life, seeming to look through you. You couldn't help but wonder if he was happy. Did he ever realize he had more to offer than his pretty face? Did he have someone in his life that could remind him of that? You couldn't help but wonder, what if? What if you hadn't let your confidence in your relationship be shaken? What if you both had just talked about the things that were bothering both of you? Maybe then you could have been that person supporting him. You swallowed hard. I don't know what to do. I don't... Look at the billboard one more time, look away, admit you miss him. Of course I think you do miss him. I'm gonna say admit you miss him and see what happens. You still missed him, but that was a long time ago. Since you could not do anything about it now, you might as well get on with your life. Okay. Trying to shake yourself from the memories, long past, you continue down the road towards your home. Familiar shops and cafes were all closing up for the day, while diners and restaurants were starting to prepare for a busy night. Families and couples alike were making their way out for their own festivities as you remembered the cold apartment waiting for you. You made your way through another intersection, mind focused on the muscle memory of the path home. By the time you reached the next intersection, you almost stepped out onto the road before noticing the lights had not changed. You stopped abruptly, catching yourself. You closed your eyes, taking a deep breath in before releasing it, chastising yourself for not being more aware of your surroundings. I guess look around. As you waited for the crossing lights to change, you looked around at where you had ended, trying to reorient yourself. Taking in the trees around you, you realized you were only a couple blocks from home. Only a few more minutes, and you would be able to sit down and rest. Clearly, you needed it if you weren't even paying attention to your surroundings. While enjoying the color of trees around you, a movement in the corner of your eye caught your attention. Turning towards the movement, you noticed someone about to get into their car only a few spots down the road. As you took the time to take them in, as if they had felt your gaze, they looked up, meeting your eyes. Who? Who are you? Startling recognition passed through as despondent golden eyes found yours. Hello, character, person. Who are you? Julian. Who's Julian? Jules. The longest relationship you'd ever had. One you had been sure could have lasted a lifetime. I'm confused. I mean, not to... Okay, so my idea when we were talking about Nico was that it had just happened. And we were, like, in the season where he was supposed to come back, but he didn't. But I guess we're, like, end of college now? Perhaps, I would assume. And yet, the reality was that it had been a few years since you last saw him, though it had felt a lifetime ago. But we're working now. So, we're not in college. I would think, hopefully. But this was our college boyfriend, maybe. You remember at the time those eyes, the color, precious treasure, were happy, bright, and loving. But all you could see now was a tiredness to them. They looked lost, emptied, and shadowed. He swayed briefly in place, the car door jerking in response to his grip. You couldn't tell if he was resisting the urge to close the door or to get in. In fact, he looked stuck in place, seemingly wanting to say something to you, but too frozen to make a move. Whatever time he had to choose was taken from him as the light prompted you to cross. You almost didn't want to look away. He looked so very vulnerable in this moment, a shadow of the person he used to be when he was with you. His hair had grown out, no longer held in the ponytail you'd adored. Instead, it flowed unkempt around his ears. The circles underneath his eyes told the story of many late nights and early mornings, something that he'd always struggled with, something you once tried to support him with. In studying the man you used to know so well, you noticed he was wearing a necklace. It glinted in the fading sunlight, and although you couldn't make out details of the circular pendant hanging off of it, you questioned when he started wearing jewelry. He never wore any with you, a personal preference of his. He much preferred to see adornments on you. Perhaps he changed his mind, or found someone new. You didn't want to know. Fair, I wouldn't, personally. Instead of letting your imagination run wild, you tore your eyes from him and crossed the road, barely catching the last few seconds of the crossing. You could feel his gaze burning into your back, and you couldn't shake the sensation that he wanted to turn back and talk to him. Wanted you to turn back and talk to him. that he wanted to reach out to you himself. I don't want to give anyone a second chance. I did admit that I had our character admit that we missed the Nico guy, so I guess for consistency purposes, I guess we're gonna. But should I hesitate though? Cause I'm gonna hesitate. You hesitated momentarily, the urge to turn back growing, and your heart aching to see if he truly was watching you leave. With each measured step you took, nothing changed. No one reached out to you or stopped you from walking away. How incredibly reminiscent of your relationship with him. As you continued to take steps further away from him, memories of those years flooded your mind. Okay, tell me more. You couldn't help it. Though your relationship with Jules had ended in such a despairing fashion, there was a lot of good there too. So much love. In the beginning, at least.
Hello.
Okay, so it was a work romance. Okay. The two of you met while working for the same company. You'd taken up an office job alongside Jules, who was studying and working to progress into a computer engineering career. He had wonderful plans for his future, supporting his parents and his siblings to make sure they were set up for success. He wanted to give them the opportunities in life that he'd fought so hard to attain himself. He studied night and day to ensure he could make good on those plans. Long hours were spent in the office to ensure he met his own ever-rising expectations. Nothing looked like it was going to stop him. You were endeared by this, and a touch perplexed. He held such lofty ideals, but he was running himself ragged to fulfill them, and you had found yourself wanting to help him. He clearly didn't have anyone around him to ensure that he cared for himself, so you started doing little things to support him.
Oh.
It started with making him a coffee when you made yours and bringing it to his desk. Then it moved into pulling him away from his duties and for a walk around the office. And soon after, it evolved into having lunches together. During all this, you learned more and more about him, and soon you found yourself smitten by the man who could barely keep his eyes open at his desk mere months ago. You learned more about his mother and father and siblings, and his hopes for them, but you also learned so much of what made him so him. One wouldn't call him shy, but he was more reserved around the office and with people he didn't interact with regularly. The same could not be said around you, however. Around you, he had a cheeky streak about him. Every moment he spent together gave him more boldness with you. He began making more flirty, teasing remarks. Ooh, blushing. Small bumps when walking side by side turned into more determined touches. A gentle hand placed on your back when you made your way through a doorway. The press of his fingers against yours when he took a cup of coffee from you. He would lean over at your desk when he helped you with your work, and the smell of his gentle flowered cologne would cloud your senses. Then there was that smile of his. It was always sporting a small smile, but for you, he seemed to have reserved a sly one that he would pull out when he was being coy with you. You never failed to match that smile with one of your own. Was it any surprise that when he asked you out for dinner, you couldn't get the word yes out of your mouth fast enough? Ooh, okay. Oh, cute. That first date, when you could enjoy each other's company outside of work, was truly magical. It was made even more so with his presence, with you learning how he blushed when he was trying to be honest, and when he tried to be bolder than he was before.
Would you mind giving me a pinch, darling? I swear I could be dreaming right now. You look so beautiful.
Okay. Romantic. When he kissed you that night, it was the sweetest kiss you could remember in ages. Oh God, can't read. The floral notes of his cologne scented the air around the both of you as he held you close to him, elation and relief rolling off of him as he deepened the kiss with you. You had hoped that this feeling with him would never end. And for a while, it was perfect. But perfection wasn't meant to last with you, apparently. Weeks turned into months, and months turned into years. Through those years, you learned why he was so selfless and why he pushed himself so hard to attain his goals.
Uh,
He was one of 5 children in his family, and as the eldest, he was not only a role model for his siblings, but also the one with the highest expectations for his future. Not a toe out of line, not a single grade below perfect, he was the one who needed to look after the family. Those expectations had grown with him into his adult life. Julian shouldered everything that was given to him. Whatever his family asked of him, he did. His family meant everything to him, so he ensured his life was dedicated to setting up the best possible future for them. At first, he was endeared to you for this quality. He was a real family man, and what could be the harm in that? But soon all these lofty goals and expectations began to weigh on your relationship as well. Attaining these goals became his priority. If he didn't meet them, it meant he was failing everyone around him. So he started to stay later at work, canceling plans with you, bringing work with him everywhere he went. Everything was a second priority to work, including yourself.
Oh.
Though you tried to bring up his habit to him, he was adamant that he was doing all of it for you.
Darling, please. All of this is for you, to give you everything you deserve. You've done so much for me. I just want to give something back to you for everything.
I mean, I can see it, but I also feel I don't blame our character for not being with this person anymore. Because even though this was brought up and like, hey, like, great, like, there needs to be like, generally I think there needs to be a general balance, but like, it is a problem though when someone leans this extreme, but then they aren't very present, even if they are trying to do it for you or for their family, their loved ones, etc. And if you can't see that, I mean, like, though admirable, it's really hard to continue on along that path, I think. You understood his motivation, and eventually you stopped trying to bring it up with him anymore. Another dinner canceled. You understood why. Another call during a time dedicated to the two of you. Again, you understood why. That's all you could say. Because we felt neglected. I would. Though you understood his motivations, it didn't stop you from feeling neglected and ignored. Abandoned. Every night that passed ended up being another tally in your mind, the endless tally of moments where you were once again the last priority. It would be too strong to say you hated it, but it certainly was something that was building within you. Soon, those years that were filled with warmth and love turned into loneliness and resentment. You had tried to hold on to him, but each time he received a new promotion or a new opportunity presented itself to him to better your lives, he slipped through your fingers like smoke. Eventually, you couldn't handle going to bed you shared alone and waking up to nothing but a cold emptiness by your side. The only proof that he had been there in the scent of the cologne you loved so much left on the sheets. Damn. So you left. Damn. I mean, makes sense. I'm not blaming you. Or more, you tried to give him one last chance to choose you over his job. One dinner, one night, just for the both of you. A sliver of hope that one evening with him would be enough to assure you that the loneliness was only temporary. But he couldn't even give you that in the end. You were left with keys set upon a card signed with your name and a simple goodbye. Dang, 6 years together, all to fall apart because he couldn't simply look beyond his work and his self-imposed expectations. Like, I'm not saying that just because, you know, you're dedicated to, like, providing a good life for your loved ones and your partner, etc., that, like, this is wrong. But there is something to be said about balance. And also, it's not like, I mean, how much did our character really bring up all this towards the end? I'm not sure. Well, we only saw a little bit of that communication, but still, like, our character did try to bring it up. I'm not saying our character is perfect or anything, but, like, there was communication versus, like, talking to Nico didn't seem like that was really what was happening for various reasons. But if we had brought it up and this man was not trying to adjust or, like, be a bit more like work-life balance, like, you can still be really, I mean, I'm assuming, but I would think that you could have work-life balance and still achieve most of those things, if not all of those things, and still have time for your loved ones. I don't know. I honestly don't know how I feel. Wow, I might not like anyone. I might not like any of these love interests. I mean, it really shows, I feel so far about like the reality of like human, like how flawed we are as a species and humanity. And like, and it's fine that these characters are not perfect because it's realistic. But I don't know what personally I would do. Like, if it's better to just then move on unless some sort of reaching out happens, not from me, but the other side. And even then, maybe talking about it would be one thing, but I don't know, like, moving forward into, like, let's do this again while we're older, wiser, and all that. So, we'll see. Still, if you had to feel alone, you may as well actually be alone. That was somehow easier, less heartbreaking. You felt hollow. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to make our character feel hollow. You felt the hollowness in yourself. You had wondered at times if you should have left sooner, fought harder, or demanded he be there more for you. But what ifs cannot change your current situation. You were alone then, as you are alone now. Nothing really changed for you in the end. Picking up your pace, you made faster tracks home to leave behind a past you really didn't want to fight with today. I also don't know how I'd feel about having to deal with all this on my birthday. That would be a lot. This emotions already running high. Finally, you saw your apartment building. You were utterly defeated by the day, but you pushed yourself to keep walking. Just a bit further, and you'd be safe and sound to wallow in your own misery. From a distance, you saw someone leaning against the building. You thought nothing of it until you got closer and saw a familiar head of platinum blonde hair. Another one? The smell of cigarette smoke filled your nostrils. What a day you're having. Not Marcus. Not today. Who's Marcus? But as was the theme of today, you weren't that lucky. Hello? When you got closer to your building, you got a good look at him. Tall, thin, and looking a little bit like a mess. Okay. His blonde hair, which he used to make sure looked so artfully disheveled, clearly hadn't been styled anytime recently. Looks pretty good on the CG, to be honest. Okay. He traded his tight leather pants for sweats. You noticed that it was a set you'd gotten him after one too many nights of seeing him lounge around the house in those skin-tight clothes. And his trademark leather jacket was gone. Some oversized, more comfortable-looking one in its place. You'd gotten out of relationship with Marcus just a year back. Okay, not that. Honestly, not that long ago. You'd been the one to cut ties. Okay, whatever. Fine, that's fine. A final breakup in a long line of breakups, and he wasn't taking it all that well. Were you the one who broke up the entire time, or?
Hi.
Funny seeing you here, sweetheart. Okay. What, do you live here now? He put a cigarette out against the brick and tossed the butt aside, then pushed himself off the wall and began strolling your way. I guess we're gonna talk to him. You sighed, accepting your fate. Might as well get this over with. Got any plans tonight? A playful smirk lit up his... I don't know if I would want to deal with this. I don't know why... I'm sorry, character. A playful smirk lit up his handsome features as he asked. You swore he could make his eyes twinkle at will. He was charming, and he knew it. He knew you knew it, too, and he was desperate for you to remember it. I'm tired. I just want to be at home. In that case, how about some company? Be direct. You let out a groan and decided to be direct with him. You did your best, keeping your tone even, leveling him with a stern look. What is this guy's problem? I'm going to my apartment. You can leave, or I can call the police.
Huh?
His face fell at that comment. He crumpled in on himself a bit for the first time, letting down his cocky exterior and showing you his true self. A broken man with a broken heart, standing in the street in sloppy sweats and begging his ex to take him back. It pulled at your heartstrings to see him like that. Somewhere in him, under all that intensity, the intensity he showed you, the jealous rages and the way he used to hold you against him so tight you couldn't breathe, just to make sure you wouldn't float away, was a sad, lonely boy, desperate to be loved. And you did love him. You always pressed against him just as hard. You really truly loved him. But it was too much. Before he could say anything else, he composed himself, putting on a smile that didn't even come close to meeting his eyes. He started to walk away, but as he passed you, he paused and leaned in so close that you could feel his hot breath by your ear.
Happy birthday.
Oh, you're British. Right. Okay, but out of the three, who remembered the birthday? Okay, we didn't give the other guy a chance to say anything, but Nico didn't call. Thanks, Marcus, for remembering the birthday. Bare minimum, but like, thanks, I guess. He walked on, leaving you behind, but his words froze you in place. No one else had remembered. No one else had cared, but he did. Damn. That's he got sucked up into all of this. Okay. You shook your head, willing yourself to move off the sidewalk and into your building. As you did, thoughts of Marcus crowded your head. Tell me more. He was never supposed to be anything serious. You met him in a bar where you'd gone to drown your sorrows after breaking up with Julian. He was almost unbelievably attractive, ridiculously smooth, and he was there. That more than filled your criteria for a distraction. I see. Oh. You know what? I get it. I'm not gonna lie. I get it. He'd gone home with you that night, and then he just never left. At first, he'd asked to crash on your couch for a little while until he found an apartment of his own. He was between homes, between jobs, pretty much just floating through life. But he was a warm body, and his warmth quickly turned into a fire that you couldn't look away from. Couldn't help yourself? You couldn't help yourself. You were infatuated with him from the very beginning. You'd asked him to move in a few weeks after meeting him. Damn, that's quick. Honestly, would it be much of a stretch to say you begged? Marcus is one of the most passionate people you'd ever met, for better or for worse. When things were good, they were incredible. Fond memories filled your head of him singing you to sleep and playing songs he'd written for you. Oh, he's a songwriter? On the rare occasion where he managed to book a gig with his band, he always locked eyes with you, wherever you were in the audience. Somehow, he made the concerts at the bars feel just as intimate as the late-night living room concerts with just the two of you. It was a talent, one you weren't proud enough to admit you missed. Grocery shopping walks around the neighborhood, house parties with his friends. No matter what you did, he always made you feel like you were the only person in the room. Okay. It was intoxicating how obsessed he was with you. When the shows were over, or when the last call was announced at the bar, he'd grab your hand and pull you close to him, making the whole world disappear. Let's dance, sweetheart. I can't do a British accent. I mean, I could try, but whatever. Let's dance, sweetheart. There was just something about how he looked at you. The way he always looked at you like you were the only person in the room. The only person on the planet, okay? It was intense. It became like a drug, and without a doubt, you got addicted fast. But while the highs were ethereally high, the lows were almost unbearable. Marcus was a jealous man, something that had caused many issues in your relationship. As passionate as he was about loving you, he was just as passionate about making sure that no one else did. Oh, damn. I don't like any. I don't know if I like any of these guys. As time went on, you found yourself picking up on some of those tendencies. In the beginning, if some would-be groupie tried to hang off of him after a show, it wouldn't bother you. But as time went on, you started snapping at them. And of course, he noticed. You're getting territorial. It's a good look on you. I'd be upset. Because you're not addressing the core issue. You'd be upset at remarks like this. You'd always huff at remarks like that. And also, I mean, whatever, sure. I mean, I wouldn't like it, so I wouldn't pick the second choice. They made you a little angrier. After all, it wasn't your fault you got possessive. It was the fault of the fans who would thirst over him, completely shameless in their lust for your boyfriend. Interestingly enough, I do think that this would definitely, I mean, this definitely is a theme that our characters had for, I mean, especially for Nico. that we didn't really get to see, like, as an adult, which would be curious. I will say, probably so far, I'm gonna just say until we finish this Marcus backstory, that I probably would pick Nico out of the three of them, because, like, I can put aside, like, okay, they were young and naive, and maybe it's just a miscommunication thing. I don't really like Julian in the sense of, like, it feels like our character really did our best, we did our best to communicate, and then stuff didn't change. And then I'm assuming with Marcus that it was just, like, too intense of, like, the possessive jealousy type, that it's not very healthy. But we'll see. Weeks turned into months, and months turned into years. 2 of them, to be exact. After 2 years of life with him, you decided you had enough. The breakup was brutal. He didn't want to leave your apartment, and a part of you didn't want him to leave either. But you were sure things couldn't go on the way they were. The fighting, the jealousy, the constant intensity of every single emotion. You were hooked on seeing the dark haze of anger in his eyes when he saw you talking to another guy. Pushing his buttons became a beloved pastime, and you came to thrive on the feeling you got when you saw someone else looking at him only for you to approach him and stake your claim over him. It was unsustainable. You knew that. But knowing it and liking it were 2 different things. And as you walked into your empty apartment that had been so recently filled with Marcus, you didn't like it one bit. You saw him everywhere you looked. Sometimes you think you saw a flash of platinum blonde hair out of the corner of your eye. Or you swear you'd hear his voice, your voice with his, reverberating off the kitchen walls in a screaming match about something that never even mattered. And that's not healthy, though.
I love you. No one else. Not ever. Only you.
It's very yandere-esque to me, except the fact that I'm assuming about the most yandere thing you could do is, you know, do all the things related to yandere-ness. But it's giving that. And not that I don't play the yandere romance genre, whatever stuff, but they scare me. And with every fiber of your being, you could only respond in kind. I love you too. No one else. Those kinds of heated, fatalistic words always led to feverish kisses and bruising grips on your hips, shoulders, anywhere he could find purchase. I mean, realistically, it probably felt thrilling. But I mean, about the power, about, like, I'm talking about, like, the confessions of love. I would think the part about, you know, the bruising, that would feel scary. I mean, either way, you could go, but let's see. And you always held on just as tightly, the scratch marks and little bruises on his skin, a reminder that he belonged to you. Oh, we're both matching each other's energy. You were the only one who got to mark him like that. Sometimes it felt scary. Your desperation to hold on to him rolled off of you in waves, threatening to pull you under. Still, you knew he felt the same, and there was a remarkable comfort in that. But it didn't matter now. Marcus was gone. He was gone, Julian was gone, Nico was gone, and now you were alone. Trying to push all the thoughts of the mess you made of your life aside, you had made your way to your room and set the cake down on your short table. Carefully, you took it out of its box and looked at it. I mean, it's not pathetic. I can't believe this is how it ended up. You muttered to yourself softly, no one in the empty room to hear you. I think, though, you've done your best in trying, and you just gotta keep going. As you looked down at the cake, you realized something was missing. A candle. That's what you've been missing at the bakery. Sure, no one was there to sing happy birthday to you or watch you blow out the candle, but still, you'd gone this far in your pity party of one. No sense in half-assing it now. You began rummaging around in the drawers in your kitchen, but you came up empty. The universe was clearly against you, and it was starting to feel personal. You couldn't do anything right. You couldn't stop fighting with Marcus, couldn't stop Jules from slipping through your fingers, and couldn't tell Nico what he really meant to you. But it was your birthday, and damn it, You were going to blow out a candle, so we're going back to the bakery? You wanted your damn wish. You weren't sure how much time passed as you tore through your apartment. I'm sure probably a neighbor has one, looking for something, anything that would work. Eventually, you were crouched near your bed, ripping through your nightstand when something caught your eye. Jutting out from under the mattress was a box. You stared at it as heaviness built in your chest. It was an old box, much older than you were, passed on to you by your grandmother. She gave it to you to house your dearest memories and treasures that you have collected over the years. Growing up, your grandmother was your favorite person, no contest. She was funny, smart, and a touch strange too, but in a fascinating way. For so long you remember thinking that she, maybe, was magic. She always seemed bigger than life. Taking a seat on the floor, you pulled the box out, tracing the grooves of the lid as you brushed away the layer of dust. Propping the box on your legs, you started sifting through it, heart swelling with all the memories the trinkets brought to mind. There was a lighter, a gaudy heart-shaped thing that never worked right. Marcus had bought it at a thrift shop during an afternoon stroll one day. When you told it reminded you of him. He tried to get it in working order, but he never managed it. A fitting metaphor for your relationship, you thought. Glinting in the corner of the box was a silver ring, engraved with your high school emblem. Nico's old class ring. He'd given it to you the first time he confessed his feelings to you, for you. You wore it all through high school, both sure you were going to spend the rest of your lives together. Now it lay forgotten, tarnished. A frame had been gently placed at the bottom of the box. A pressed daisy from the bouquet Julian brought you when he asked you out stared back at you, reminding you of the sheer joy you felt in that moment. Now it was a reminder that the happiness didn't last. Forcing the sentimental thoughts aside, you glanced over the box once more, a niggling feeling that something was calling out to you. And that was when you saw it. A frickin' candle. A little candlestick. Oh, that's kind of crazy. Like seriously. I am just checking real quick the game page for this, because I think if there's not a lot going on, I can stop for now. 45, well, current feature, so it's 45 minutes to an hour. I'll probably just keep going then. 6 CGs, that's a lot of CGs. Okay, whatever. A singular, unassuming candle. The reason you kept it, of course, was incredibly significant. It was the very same candle your grandma placed on your cake for your first birthday. She loved telling the story of that day. She'd baked that cake from scratch, piped decorations on it from your favorite colors. As soon as you blown out the candle, she recounted warmly, you tore the cake apart. You smiled, thinking of how she laughed when she talked about it. Grandma always seemed to light up when talking about your adventures and exploits growing up. Turning the candle in your hand, a warm feeling that you had been missing all day was filling your chest. Yeah, this would do just fine. Leaving the box on the floor, you scooted back to the cake, sitting pretty on your table, taking the candle with you. Ooh, yummy, yummy, yummy. Carefully, you placed the candle on top of the cake. It wasn't an overly fancy thing, and of course, part of it had already been melted away. It was white with golden swirls. Simple, but beautiful. There was a certain bitterness in seeing the candle that represented one of the happiest events in your life, being used when you were feeling quite the opposite. Pulling out a box of matches, you tried to light several with no success. A few failed to spark, and some just snapped in your fingers. Tears welled in your eyes, and you became even more frustrated over being unable to light just a simple single match. You closed your eyes and took a deep breath before you tried the last match, successfully striking it and watching the tip light up. With a shaky hand, you leaned close to the candle, covering it with a hand lest any movement of air snuff it out. As the candle lit up, you watched the little flame dance for just a moment. You took a seat at the table, your eyes remaining glued to the sight before you. It was somewhat calming, watching the flame flicker, and you found yourself able to breathe easier after your earlier frustration. As the light from the candle illuminated the cake in the darkening room, Ever so quietly, you hummed to yourself the tune of the happy birthday song you grew up with. Though as you got closer to the end, you started to get stuck on a few of the notes. A thickness was building up in your throat as you continued. As you got to the end, you cleared your throat before whispering to yourself softly, "Happy birthday, Marie." You went to blow the candle out, but you just stopped. You stopped just as you took in a breath. You forgot to make a wish. A wish? Though you had started, there wasn't a wish you could think to put to words. What could you wish for? What would you want to wish for? After everything that transpired today, only one thought made itself known: the chance to make a change. Eyeing the candle, you silently made your wish to the universe in the hopes that something might hear you. Please, just one chance to change things. One chance to fight for them. Once again, you took in a breath. You blew the candle out. Or you thought you did. The light went funny for a brief moment, and in that time you could have sworn that the tiny little flame turned colors. Grandma. A bright red at first, then green, and finally blue before at last it winked out of existence. It could have been a trick of the light, you tried to reason with yourself. Or maybe you were so exhausted that you started seeing things. Regardless of the season, or the reason rather, tears began to fill your vision. Like a dam breaking after all the pressure of the day, you started to cry. Crying for everything you've lost, for everything you'd never have. You let yourself cry, hugging yourself as tears soaked your cheeks until no more would come, and your eyes felt dry and swollen. Once you had calmed yourself, you wiped your face and then eyed the cake and the old candle stuck in the middle, little wisps of smoke rising off of it. Suddenly, even this idea of celebrating your birthday on your own felt like too much work. No, but we didn't even eat the cake. I mean, I guess we got tired from crying, which is totally understandable, but I would have been crying and eating cake like that. That's what would have happened personally. Leaving it where it was, you turned and climbed into your bed instead. In a fitting end to a terrible day, sleep didn't come easy. You tossed and turned, thoughts of Nico, Jules, and Marcus swirling in your head. What if you'd been able to make it work with one of them? What if you'd been able to put your insecurities aside to fight for the bond you had with Nico, rather than letting your lack of confidence tear it down? What if instead you'd been able to build a life together on all those memories you created since you were little? Or Julian? What if you'd given him more time to realize his dream? What if you were secure enough in your love for him and in his love for you to stick it out? Maybe you needed to fight more for the two of you. And Marcus, he'd been there, actually there to wish you a happy birthday today. He was absolutely crazy about you. You knew that in your heart. So what if you'd indulged him in that? Would he be here again, holding you, singing you a lullaby? While you didn't know the exact answer to each of these questions, each scenario had the same basic outcome. At least you wouldn't be alone. With those thoughts swirling in your head, you finally drifted into a fitful sleep. Okay, I have lots of thoughts. I will say I think it's better to be alone than to deal with someone who's not going to improve or try or whatever. I honestly don't really like Julian or Marcus, but I can see where, like, more so, well, actually, both of them are pretty bad in my sense, in the sense of, like, it's not like you didn't try. You did. And it just didn't work out. You were with Julian for 6 years. Like, that's a long time to be with someone and they don't change, in the sense of, like, yes, you're doing your work, but it's not like you have made it clear that this is an issue about the quality time you spend. And obviously you can't always get it, but like, and obviously, like, it's not to say that his work isn't important or like what he's doing isn't important, but like, if those just don't align, then how are you supposed to sustain your lifestyle together? Marcus is a different issue in terms of like how explosive he can be in his emotions and all those things. So the one that I'm like leaning towards the most, if I have to pick a love interest, is Nico. Like, I can see, like, well, you guys were young and like you just didn't like, our character didn't communicate as much, and maybe, you know, his character didn't either. And I can see a better shot at second chances, a second chance there. I will say though, the sentiment of like being alone, I would rather be alone. And also, if anything, just be like, whoa, might as well go find a new person. But maybe this is why we don't have a lot of second chance romance in this space. Or I say that and I haven't really paid too much attention, and there's like so many games. But let me know if there are any games like that, because I'd be curious. But I don't know. I'm not really super into any of these love interests. Like, beside, like maybe kind of Nico, but not really. Well, it's kind of hard to tell. I need more info, I guess. Anyways, let's see what happens as we fall asleep. A symphony of senses took you from consciousness to a place far better. You felt soft hair against your cheek and an indescribable warmth enveloping you. The scent of a floral cologne seemed to lull you into sleep, filling you with the hope of a happier future. A few notes from an old guitar broke the stark silence in your apartment, and you heard a soft, sweet voice singing just for you. Instead of the normal darkness that would typically accompany you when you drift to sleep, you instead saw other memories flash before you, memories of your past loves. Everywhere you looked, snapshots of your life appeared in flames around you, all the happy memories and the bad. More and more senses filled your mind, familiar yet strange all at the same time. And suddenly, it was as if you were falling. The collage of frames disappeared, and you were surrounded by nothing but a black void. You thought to yourself that you should be afraid, but all you felt was a peace that was akin to hope. As you floated in this void, you saw a figure in the distance, one that was slowly approaching you. Before your eyes, you saw your grandmother, clear as day and looking exactly how you always remembered her. Call out to Grandma. Filled with excitement, you couldn't help but excitedly call out to her. Grandma! It had been so long since you last saw her. All you felt was elation to seeing her after everything you went through today. As she walked closer to you, you could see in one of her hands was a candle, the very same candle you used earlier that evening for your cake, the flame lit and dancing without a care as she walked towards you. She looked at you as she got closer, really, truly looked at you. You felt your stomach drop. This dream was starting to feel incredibly real. Without a word, she came to a stop in front of you. Reaching out, she grabbed onto one of your hands, and when she did, your feet found purchase to something solid as how she was holding on to you. With a smile that lit up her face, she turned away and pulled you along with her, leaving you with no choice but to follow her. You wanted to ask what she was doing here, to tell her how much you missed her, how you wished she was with you today, but you couldn't find your voice, so instead you kept pace with her. Oh, different doors. Soon 3 doors materialized in front of you, each designed differently with a different motif. Somehow, each familiar to you, and each pulled to you, wanting you to come closer. You looked towards your grandma, who simply was smiling at you, a wise, knowing smile that filled you with something like hope. Second chances. She turned to you, pressing the still lit candle in your hand as you tried to find meaning in the phrase, but nothing came to mind. Before you could ask, a small rough hand cradled your cheek. You put your hand over hers as she continued to look at you with nothing but adoration in her eyes. You will understand soon enough. She then stepped back and turned away. Before you were able to stop her, though, she simply faded from your view as if she was never there to begin with. Second chances. You turned toward the doors in front of you and looked at your candle. It burned brightly, and yet there was no wax melting, no heat radiating from it. It simply stayed lit, a guiding light for you to follow, and it seemed to be guiding you towards the doors ahead of you. Your wish from earlier in the night rang through your mind. Please, just one more chance to change things. One more chance to fight for them. As if all at once, you realized what this meant. You couldn't tell if this was real or whether it was all a dream, but one thing was for certain. This was your chance, and if by some luck or some pure magic, this was real, and you were going to take it. With newly found determination, you gripped onto the candle in your hand and took a step towards the doors. You chose, as I save, I'm gonna choose Nico. Tell me who you would have chose, because I honestly don't like it's fine. It's a preference thing and like whatever. And also for the story, like I don't really need to make choices based on like my personal preferences, but or logic, my personal logic, but you can. That's what I'm doing here. You gripped onto the handle of the door and pushed it open, the flame of your candle burning brighter and brighter until its light consumed your vision. Ooh. Thank you for playing our demo. Getting the chance to go back in time with the choices you make rekindle a lost flame, giving you the chance for the happy ending you are wishing for, or will it stay snuffed out with no hope of a future with them? Okay. Actually, this is bringing up in my mind, there was like a webtoon that I just read. It's called like Marriage Blues. Oh, Nico's just on here. So we did get okay, that's the 6. I was like, did we get 6? We did get 6. Interesting. Okay, but it's coming to mind. It's called Marriage Blues. It's webtoons, and it's kind of like a second chances sort of romance and trope. So it's pretty enjoyable. I finished it. It's a pretty short webtoon. So that's what this reminds me of. I'm intrigued. I would be very interested in seeing the full game. I really hope that the game devs are able to come back to this and develop it. But yeah, let me know what you think. Would you pick Nico? Would you pick Julian or Marcus, perhaps? I like that a lot of these situations are all pretty realistic, I think, overall. But I will say that I am a little frustrated that you're allowed to feel this way, of course. But I guess because, you know, I don't know, like our character's just so down on your special day, and it makes me sad that that is this. And like, whoa, like what am I doing in my life? And I'm not with anyone, and like what the frick have I been doing if I've like had all these relationships but they never worked out? And sometimes it is a timing thing, which I can get in this like second chance like romance, like maybe. But also, I do think maybe it wasn't meant to be for some of them. I mean, maybe if you even made different choice, like it doesn't seem to me overall. Like the only one that I feel like I chose Nico because I was like, okay, like it seems like because of insecurities by fact of being like young and like not knowing much or being insecure, which like comes with the territory, I think. That's what kind of contributed to the fall of the relationship. But I'm not saying that like it's the only reason, or if we weren't like insecure or anything, that it wouldn't have led to like a breakup, because it could have. But I do feel like the most like, oh, this is like I didn't get to say all the stuff I wanted to say, so maybe I should say it and then be able to move on with my life, compared to like Julian and Marcus. I'm like, ooh, like there's stuff that had been said and stuff wasn't like they weren't improving or we weren't feeling happy and all that stuff. So that's my thought process there. So let me know who you would have picked. Would you pick Nico? Would you pick any of these other guys? Would you pick any of them, realistically? Yeah, let me know what you think. And if you like the video, please don't forget to press the like button. And if you'd like to see more of indie visual novels on my channel, then feel free to subscribe. Anyways, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye!